What's going on, guys? I'm your host, Devon Evans, and welcome back to another episode of the Band of Barbers podcast. Thank you guys for tuning in tonight. Again, we're here at the end of my day and just decided to give you guys a quick episode. I told you guys, if you've heard before, this is going to kind of be the follow along of my journey. And although we discussed some general topics and things like that, I also want to talk about what it's like actively in a situation and what's going on and what happens and really the struggles of being an entrepreneur. And so today, I really want to share with you guys, like, for me personally, today was just not my day. I don't know really well. I won't say that I don't know what it was. Being an entrepreneur and being, I can't necessarily say I'm a solo entrepreneur. I do work with my wife, but she has her own thing, and she kind of is. She's kind of an assistant, or she assists as needed with things that I don't necessarily really understand, struggle with, things of that nature. She's not always involved heavily in everything. So a lot of times I'm kind of going at this thing by myself. I will take stuff to her for her to help me, but most of the time it's just me. And one of the things about being a solo entrepreneur, and I'm just telling you guys, is that I am looking to build a team as fast as possible, because you'll hear from my examples. Being a solo entrepreneur and not having people along with you or to delegate tasks to is overwhelming. And it kind of brings me to my first point of the day. I had a lot of decisions to make. I'm currently going back and forth to Northern Virginia to take some classes, while still trying to recruit, still trying to spend some time in a shop cutting my clients and things of that nature. I'm doing all of that stuff, and so sometimes what happens is I get overwhelmed by making decisions. I've been looking at some different marketing avenues and things to do. And the way that my brain works, I connect so many things together. I get I sometimes get overwhelmed with the decision making process, and it sucks. It really sucks. It's not fun. It's not enjoyable. But this is something that a lot of entrepreneurs who tell you about making all this money and doing all this stuff, they don't prepare you, or they don't talk about the times where they are, and I'll call it what it is. They're overwhelmed, they're depressed, they're angry, they're frustrated. They don't necessarily talk about that, and especially not actively during the time. A lot of times people will talk about it, but they'll talk about it once they figured it out. I'm giving it to you raw and uncut. This is as of today. I was very overwhelmed by some decisions that really weren't that they weren't that bad, but when you put them all together and you're trying to make a bunch of little tedious decisions about stuff, it just becomes overwhelming. And if you don't have a process, you don't have a sounding board, you don't have, again, anybody to delegate tasks to, and you're the task maker and the task master, it weighs on you. Um, today I was I was prepping. I had to get a few things for my class, and I went to three different stores, and then I stood in one store in a local beauty supply store. I stood in the store and I looked at combs and brushes for like 30 minutes to only decide that I wasn't going to get any of them right now, and to go back and look at all the stuff I have to make sure that I'm not buying duplicates of things. Now, that's a good thing because if you know me, I have easily 400 or 500 different combs, brushes, and things of that nature. I do. And so some of these were detailed combs or detailed brushes that I don't have. I don't use a lot of like round brushes and things of that nature. I don't use a lot of that stuff. So or the round brushes, paddle brushes, I don't use it. So I was looking at it, trying to decide which one is which, what's going to work best for me, what's gonna fit best in my. I was it overwhelmed me. It absolutely overwhelmed me, and it was frustrating because I wanted to make a decision, but I couldn't make a decision because I hadn't done the work on well, not at the back end. I hadn't done the work on the front end to go through and see what I already had. What did I have and what did I need to add to what I had? I made a mental checklist, but I didn't do it physically. And sometimes you'll learn and understand and be an entrepreneur or just in life in general. When you skip steps, a lot of times when you get caught in a moment or you get stuck, it's because you're trying to do something without completing a step. And that just kind of messes you up. It doesn't kind of, it does. It messes you up. And so, like my example of the combs and the brushes, like it messed me up. We're talking about combs and brushes, simple stuff. I had a list. I need a flat brush, I need a flat brush, a Denman brush, a round brush. I can't think of the other one right now, but it was a simple list. But I let this list overwhelm me. I let it overwhelm me. So guys, like just take it as an example. Listen and understand. Every day is not going to be a perfect day. And I had a conversation with my wife at the end of the day, and I said, I really got down, I really got overwhelmed today, and I personally felt like, and I did a couple other things. I did during the day. I did an interview. Um, I did an interview this morning and kind of an information session this morning with a potential student. I took care of some personal stuff as far as dealing with the VA, which can be super complicated. I went out. I went to the store. Did a few things. I also took a nap today, which is not something that I generally do. But I took a nap today. I did. I did those things, and I did a few other things. I can't necessarily list them off right now, but I did some things. And so in the conversation with my wife, she said, you don't realize how, like, I always create productivity with um, with finances, right? Am I generating income today? And in this new venture with the barber school, right now, because we haven't actually started classes yet, I'm stuck in limbo. So, you know, I could go I could go to this shop and I could cut hair and things like that. But if I go and do those things, once we do start classes, I'm going to be behind because I didn't do the things that needed to be done for the business. So, going and taking these advanced classes that I'm taking in Northern Virginia and the Maryland area, doing things like that, like my idea behind taking them was to benefit the students, get knowledge, get experience. I haven't been in a classroom when it comes to hair in almost 10 years, 8 years. I haven't been in a classroom. Haven't been in a classroom in 8 years. So I wanted to kind of refresh myself. I wanted to learn some new things and things that I was going to be teaching so that I can teach the next generation and teach them well, and learn from some other industry experts in my area that were close to me. And my wife just really brought to my attention. She was like, "You're not you don't see the benefit right now, but you're still doing things that are beneficial." And I had to kind of stop and pause and take a minute and really think about it, and the things that she was saying, and I realized two things in that. One, she was right. And two, it is very important to have a spouse who supports and believes in you and understands your vision. And sometimes my wife can be my frustration interpreter, or my and so I take on a lot of things, and there's a lot of information that gets jumbled and piled up in my brain. I'm trying to make a lot of decisions at one time. And sometimes, I talk to my wife about a lot of this stuff, but when I get to a level of frustration, sometimes she's able to sit down and help me pick out and organize some of those things, which goes back to my earlier point. You need a team. You need a team. You need people around you. And I won't say that what my wife does is something delegation worthy. Some of this stuff, if I had people to delegate to, these tasks would not jumble up in my brain. I could just say, hey, this is what we need done, so and so and so, and go on about my business, and come back and okay it later if it's done, or just let somebody else handle it, and just check up on the process, or check up on not the process, check up on the completion of the task, so on and so forth. But like I said, when you're the person who creates the task and completes the task, and you have multiple different things in multiple different places and multiple different facets of the business, it becomes difficult. It does. It just becomes difficult. And, working in the business and on the business is two different things, because a lot of times what you do working on the business doesn't always seem like it's profitable, beneficial, or things like that. It just like, these classes I'm taking, I second guessed myself in the benefit of these classes, and I'm saying, like, I'm not going to be full-time behind the chair. I could immediately see results if I was going to be full-time if I was taking these classes to add to my full-time behind the chair repertoire. But because I'm not going to be behind the chair full-time, these lessons have to pass on to someone else. And that's through the school, which is my point. But when you're in a state like I was today and you're overwhelmed, you start second guessing things. Is this the right thing to do? Probably, I'm gonna be honest with you, probably so. Probably so. If you're having problems growing and building and things like that, and you're cutting out some of the things that apply to on the business or working on the business and not in the business, if you're cutting out things that you don't rightfully see a benefit in the beginning or from immediately or understand how to reap benefits, those are probably the things that'll really help you grow your business even faster. You know, for example, it's becoming very big for barbers to, you know, post and videos and pictures and things like that on social media and all of those types of things. Barbers taking photography and those type of things. Now, I give you an example. I don't know this, but this may be a thing. But if you're a barber who wants to grow and expand into, you know, social media marketing and working on your social media marketing and working in that field to better grow and develop your business, it would be smart to take a photography class or spend time learning photography, spend time learning about the social media platforms that you're working on and how to best market to your ideal customer. It would be smart to learn who your ideal customer is, where they are. Like, it would be smart to learn all of those things. I would advise it. I've learned a lot about these things. But you know what the problem is for me? Is that when I'm learning these things, I don't see fruit right away. I don't see benefits right away. So I'm questioning whether or not it's worth it. And I think that comes from working so many years, in my opinion, being an employee. The employee relationship to money and to success is, I give you a certain amount of my time, and for that time, you're going to pay me. If I work over the time that we agreed upon, you're going to pay me more. That's how a lot of us think. So a lot of us will get stuck behind the chair with poor clients or clients that we don't necessarily really want to service, but because we don't understand the other things and because we don't want to sacrifice any amount of time for free, we're just going to keep cutting these people because they're the ones that pay me right now, and I'm just going to do that. You got to take a loss to get some gains. You got to take a loss to get some gains. You know, initially, most jobs, for the most part, pay you every 2 weeks. Some are different. You know, I've worked jobs where we only got paid once a month. And this is what I'll say about it. Now, if you can work a job for an entire 2 weeks or an entire month and not see fruit from that, going in every day, you trying to get overtime early and all of these types of things, waiting for your paycheck, then why can't you devote some time to learning a new skill that can help your business grow? And I understand it's a conflict. Listen, guys, I have that conflict. A lot of times when I just said it, when I'm learning and doing new stuff, Sometimes I get frustrated because I'm not seeing immediate or any results right away. But the new thing that I might have learned in 2 or 3 months down the road, and I'm in a situation where I need to use that skill, if I didn't have that skill, I'd have never been able to use it. So no, did it always do they does what you learn always kick a return right away? No. Most of the time, honestly, it's not going to kick a return. It's never really going to kick a return right away. We are barbers, or you want to be a barber. The best haircut that you did in barber school, if you compared it to what you do now, you would probably cringe. So it took time. You figured it out. You learned the skills. If you know, for some of you who may have gone into school or into an apprenticeship and had a few skills, what you started with is not what you have now. And so because you saw fruit along the way, it wasn't the same thing for you. And and it also makes you, I would say, it makes you have to question, what are your intentions? What are your intentions? Are you in this just to make money? And I'm not saying that money isn't. Are you in this just to make money? Because if you're doing, there's a lot of different things that you can do besides cutting hair to make money. But if you are, I will say this: if you are in it to just make money, please provide the best services you possibly can. Don't just throw people in the chair and throw them out. All right, next, next, next. This is not the lunch line at school. You know what I'm saying? Like this isn't the lunch line at school. We're not just slopping food on a plate and serving it and telling the customer, "Hey, this is what I got for you. Either you eat it or you're not." We're not doing that. That's not what we're here to do. And and for the barbers for the barbers who do that, you're doing yourself, you're doing the industry, you're doing your customer, you're doing everybody a huge disservice. Huge disservice. For as integral of a part a barber has in a man's life or a client's life, to throw them in the chair and throw them back out with a subpar. Now, am I saying that it has to be Instagram photo fresh every single time? No. But should there be heavy weight lines in it when the client gets out the chair? No. No, it shouldn't. Not unless that's what they asked for. Now, if they ask for that, that's a totally different story. But you just respect the craft, respect yourself. Whoever it is that you care, like whoever it is that you care for, care about, that you provide services, everybody needs to get that same standard of a haircut. This is a word of mouth industry, and I don't know, guys. We were talking about my bad day, and I kind of went here, and appreciate you for rolling with me. But this is a word of mouth industry, and if you throwing jacked up haircuts in and out the chair, in and out, in and out, in and out, you're throwing these crazy haircuts in and out the chair. Your name is attached to these haircuts. Your name or the business that you work in is attached to these haircuts. And so if you're all about the money, I suggest you care about the field that you're working in. Because if you want to see the money grow, get better in all facets of business. Not just technical skills, customer service, um, technical skills, sanitation, consistency, punctuality. Like, get better in all of those things. We have the pleasure as barbers to receive money for a service from clients who come and sit in our chair. You have to take that seriously. You have to take it seriously. Nobody is obligated to sit in your chair. Nobody is obligated to do any type of business with you. All right. And look, I'll say this and I'm going to close. If you're overwhelmed behind the chair and that is your reasoning for throwing people in and out of the chair or providing providing subpar haircuts, should probably learn more about your trade. Watch some tutorials, ask questions of other barbers if you're in a shop. And let me also say, hey, if you are in a shop, let's just say, and it's just you in the shop, and you're struggling and all of these types of things, and you're trying to make ends meet and everything like that, maybe can I suggest to you that maybe you go and find a shop that has a chair and work in there, and a place that's a learning environment, because when you put all of the weight on yourself as far as being a barber and running a shop, your own shop, when you put all of that weight on yourself, it is hard for you to do anything else, because now the only thing you're concerned about is, I got to pay these bills. I got to pay these bills. I got to pay these bills. So you'll work, like a madman to pay these bills, and you're rushing. You're doing all these things. Like, you should have had a plan. And if your plan was to get away from where you were at, it's so much more to it than that. You have to be systematic. I say it again. You have to work in the business and on the business. Stop trying to carry all the weight yourself. Find the things that you need. Delegate the task. Delegate tasks. Get you a mentor. Use ChatGPT if you need some other things, other help and things like that. Use your resources around you. If you don't know how to delegate, again, there's an AI source that can probably help you with quite a bit of things that you're struggling with, and things like that. Get in a community that will help feed you the information that you need, and things like that. And don't be ashamed. Stop this whole cocky barber thing. I just don't understand it. Stop it. Somebody taught you. You learned from somewhere. You didn't just pick up the Clippers and one day say, "Oh, like I'm amazing." No, I promise you, you didn't. Promise you, you might have had higher than average skills when you picked up the Clippers, but you wasn't the guy when you picked up those Clippers. Somebody had to teach you. You had to observe. You had to watch. You had to learn. You had to do something. So in your business and running a business, it's not just cutting. It's not just about cutting the hair. It's not just about that. It's about a whole wide array of things. The cutting the hair piece is the probably one of the smaller pieces. Now, it to you may seem like the big thing because that's the one thing that creates that gets you money. But there's a long list of things that go into this. Your There's a long list of things that go into this: your location, your cleanliness, your sanitation, your customer service, your consistency. There's so many other things that what happens in the 20 to 30 minutes or hour you may have a client in the chair, depending on what service. What happens then is a result of all the other things that happened before. When you go out in town and people are talking to you and you shaking hands with people and they say, "Hey, I want to get a haircut," and you giving them business cards or you got this, you got that. Those are part of your business too. They're not a separate thing. They all work together in a rhythmic dance. They all work together in a rhythmic dance. I say it again, I'll say it till I'm blue in the face. Learn your business, not just your skill. All right? Learn your business, not just your skill. There are plenty of skilled people who don't know how to run a business. Don't be one. You know, I appreciate you guys really listening this evening. And you know, doing this podcast is important not just for you all, but it's important for me. And I will say that, you know, talking to you guys to this evening like really has helped me, and it makes me realize what I am doing does have purpose, does have meaning, and things like that. And I just love sharing with you guys the real truth and the real deal about what goes on behind the scenes. Not a lot of people are willing to talk about that, but I'm one of those. So I leave you with it, guys. Work in and on the business. In and on the business. I'm your host, Devon Evans. This is the Band of Barbers podcast. Please like, comment, share, subscribe so we can grow the tribe.